and welcome to 2026. Every week on Fridays, we'll be publishing a short video of no more than 7 minutes in which we'll summarize the events that caught our attention during the week, comprising of deals, acquisitions, investment sentiment, growth, market information, basically things we're hearing from our funders, things we're hearing from our project owners that we hope may serve as useful to you. We also have a deal knowledge resource at lofotrinvestors.com involving best practice, deal methodology, etc. So please do take advantage of that. Subscribe to have this week in review sent directly to your inbox. Now, obviously, there hasn't been much to report given the time of the year, with the exception of Meta's acquisition of Manus AI, which is interesting to us because of Manus AI's Chinese origins. So I thought for today what we could do is look at a theme that has been emerging in the UK and look to identify it now and then monitor it throughout 2026, because we believe that this will endure. We've recently heard comments that the UK economy is in this kind of like early stage clinical depression, and that is supported by comparisons between the number of IPOs last year and a decade and before, or the number of high net worths fleeing the country thanks to the scrapping of the non-dom rule, or this unattractive 0.1 growth, or indeed the threat of recession. One of the reasons we established Lofotr Investors was because of the explicit tightening of traditional financing channels, leaving owners in a position to seek a broader range of options. We have shared these concerns, and in December, prompted by the departure of the challenger bank Revolut CEO to Dubai, we compiled some questions that we sent to the Treasury, and those involved what exactly is being done to maintain the very sensitive environment of fintech entrepreneurs, which previous administrations had worked very hard to maintain, and that's something that they should be credited for, because it's a difficult thing. But very kindly, the Treasury furnished us with answers, but unfortunately, they weren't the answers that satisfy any of our questions. And one of the points that they made in their response was that they are excited about the future of the UK based on the performance of the sterling against the euro and the dollar. And that doesn't really answer anything. I mean, if you want to know the reasons why that's happening, it's because the gilt yields in the UK are higher than most European nations, and that by itself is a concern. And I think that this speaks to the kind of incongruency that more and more market commentators are expressing frustration with. And you have the example of just last week, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, suggesting that the UK economy was off to a booming start because of the performance of the FTSE 100. Now, again, that doesn't have anything to do. That is comprised of global firms. If you wanted a more accurate, a closer link, then you'd look at the FTSE 250, which is very obviously underperforming. And I think that this theme of underperformance is a worry that will continue through 2026, as I said, but it's also blinding the economy toward what's happening elsewhere and the subsequent opportunities. So if you contrast this attitude to growth, call it that, in Africa, you'll see, or rather feel unnerved at things that are happening in the south that are not happening in the north. And you can see banks' eagerness to finance projects. You can look at the infrastructure developments of, particularly in West Africa. But I think, we can save the more molecular examinations for the verticals that we service in future reviews, and rather stick to a kind of geopolitical analysis as to why this is happening. And you can take the example of the EU and the overtures that are being made to Africa, particularly sub-Saharan Africa, in a way that they haven't for 2, possibly 3 decades. One of the examples here is the EU's commitment to renewable energy in South Africa. But I think on a broader examination, you could see that this is happening because of the end of Pax Americana, where European nations are going to be forced into much higher defense spending, but also seek new commercial lines. And just judging by the warmth of the EU diplomats towards South Africa, you can gauge a heightened level of interest. And that's just Europe. America is also interested in Africa, is also seeing huge numbers of opportunities. And that's irrespective of the impasse between the Trump administration in South Africa. You know, the smart guys in the Trump administration, the money guys, people like Scott Bessent or Howard Lutnick, they think in the future, and they're seeing a young continent filled with opportunity, and really the only arena in the world where the dimension building required to shore up the middle class prosperity which Trump is expected of the Trump administration, indeed what he was voted in for, is possible. And I'll give you the example of what's happening on Africa's east coast with the development of hospitality features, Marriott, for example. And if you think this is a risky exercise, take a look at Cabo San Lucas in Mexico, where the Americans have built some of the most extraordinary hotels and residential developments in the world. So that's I think also, just to caution any optimism here, you have to accommodate the presence of the Chinese who've been here for now almost 3 decades. Not to say that they've swallowed up all the opportunities, but it's going to be a much more competitive environment than previously before. So I'd encourage the UK economy, those who follow market information, those who are seeking opportunities, to really pay attention to it. We're bullish on Africa, particularly in infrastructure, energy and technology, real estate and mining, just behind that. And we've been receiving presentations from African banks that are looking to do stuff. So if you are a project owner and you are looking to fund whatever you need at whatever stage in 2026, please do register with us and upload to the criteria required, and we'll see what we can do about getting you in touch with our funding partners. As I said, that's our first review for 2026. We'll see you next Friday, and I hope that you all have a very good start to the year.